we're talking about Tai Chi Master, which is a 1993 film,
Right.
and it's directed by, who's the director? Let's take a look here. It's
you when you ping or you when ping or
it's Yuan Wu Ping.
say that again.
Yuan. It's directed by Yuan Wu Ping.
Okay.
Yeah, and that actually is the guy who is the choreographer for The Matrix.
Right.
And he, I mean, that's hardly his best work. I mean, The Matrix is fine. In terms of like fights and all that kind of stuff, it's fine. In terms of a film, I think it's quite good. I think it's probably one of the best films of the 90s.
I kind of don't care about The Matrix all that much.
Yeah, well, that's...
I don't know why. Like I didn't really understand it. I didn't fucking get it.
For someone of my generation,
right? The younger the kids, the
younger kids, the millennials, not the old crotchety Gen Xers,
boomers.
Yeah, the Matrix really did feel like something that we were just waiting for. It felt like a film that was like, this is what I've been wanting. Like there were a bunch of films that were kind of getting close to this, but this, like the what? Matrix, I don't know. There were things that were like kind of like virtual reality and like technology. Like there was like Virtuosity with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, and there was like the 13th Floor, which was like some sort of VR movie. There was also a movie called Strange Days with
that movie's awful.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like you want these things that are kind of like about kind of this very feasible kind of idea of like technology, like with the brain, but then you also want the action and it's like some of these movies kind of get it. Like for example, there's that part in Strange Days where like the guy's like you want to fucking jack in, man, and the guy's like, whatever. This seems like a bunch of bullshit. And then the guy puts on the.
I don't think that there's.
Let me finish the story.
I don't think that there's
shut up.
single.
Shut the fuck up. Let me finish my story. What the fuck's the matter with you? Jesus Christ! I can't believe you're still interrupting me. You're not stopping. Oh my god. Okay, listen. So the guy puts the fucking holy shit, Johnny.
Movie.
You got to stop. You got to stop. 1 second. He puts the thing on his head, and then the guy has this sort of shuddering effect, and then he's like, "What the hell was that?" And then the guy goes, You were just taking a shower as a 16-year-old girl. You just experienced what it's like to take a shower as a 16-year-old girl. And the guy's like, holy shit. And I remember like seeing that one scene and being like, oh wow, what an interesting idea of like being able to like experience other experiences like through technology like that. That scene is the most interesting scene in Strange Days. Well, please continue.
You saw Brain. What's that movie with Natalie Wood? Brain Scan? Storm.
Brain Scan is the one with Edward Furlong from.
What's the one with Natalie Wood and Christopher Walken? Brainstorm?
That's Brainstorm, yeah.
So that was like the first time I saw that type of technology in a movie, and it like became this whole thing where like, did you ever see that film?
Yeah. But I don't hold it in very high regard. Because the technology is too. It's not there yet. Like it's unfeasible. It doesn't fucking.
But I mean, like it's still like the sort of point of the story is like it can record your. There's this machine that can record your experience, record your thoughts, and somebody's wearing this device and they die, and then they sort of like have the full experience of death recorded on this technology, and sort of like there's this race to like get this recording and figure out like what happens after you die.
Right.
I do have like a strong memory of like that sequence of like Christopher Walken putting on the machine and like going through the whole like death process. I agree it's not a great film. But yeah, I can't think of a single sort of like what would be qualified as like a cyberpunk movie that is any good.
Okay, well, I mean, I think I disagree. I think that The Matrix was the one that like clicked with everyone. Okay, it didn't click with you, sure, but like a lot of people,
I was just not interested.
I think a lot of people were just kind of like, oh, this is the one that finally gets it, and the way that it marries it with action, and it also the fantasy fulfillment of this idea of like being able to like be an expert at something in a moment, just like putting a fucking USB stick in your head and being able to know how to operate a helicopter, or being able to
well, of course,
like learn a language,
like kids like that, because it's sort of like, oh, I don't have to put any effort in anything. That's my type of movie, like a movie that sort of like really sort of puts that experience on a pedestal. Like, oh, this is we don't have to actually like work to do anything. We can just put this fucking USB in our head, and suddenly we're like ninja masters.
Yeah.
Like
it's
not interesting.
It's these lazy young whippersnappers, and
exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's the cinema of laziness.
Right. Not like you. You learned to be a kung fu master.
I've watched 36
years.
Chambers,
right,
and that took a long time for that guy to fucking learn.
I think that Yen Wu Ping, the director of this, also directed Iron Monkey with Ronnie Yen.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite kung fu movies.
Okay, okay. So enough about The Matrix and fucking how you don't like it or whatever. Let's talk about now about Tai Chi Master.
Tai Chi Master.
So the first time. Okay, so here's the thing about Tai Chi Master is that in 2000, I think that probably shortly after The Matrix, Miramax. Which Miramax did they do the fucking Matrix too, or was it? I think it was Warner Brothers, or maybe both of them. Doesn't matter. The point is that Miramax they must have just been like, hey, Harvey, you know what we can probably do? We can get some of these Chinese films for pennies on the dollar, put them in the theaters, and we can make a killing. And they ended up just taking things like. Well, first of all, Tai Chi Master, which they re-released as Twin Warriors.
Drunken Master 2, I remember being released over here.
At that time? Around that time? Or earlier?
A little later. So I think, because I feel like I was in Los Angeles when I saw Drunken Master, so I think that was post-Matrix.
But I mean, you saw it in LA, so I mean, it's not like you saw it at like the New Beverly, or like was it actually like a nationwide?
No, it was in a regular movie theater.
Okay, well, so okay,
but that was also post like Jackie Chan, Rumble in the Bronx.
Yeah, but that kind of wasn't
US acceptance,
right? Well, like Rumble in the Bronx was like 1995, and that's kind of a different. That's sort of a different era. Like that's sort of like. Okay, let's just see how this goes. And they released Rumble in the Bronx too. I think it did decently, but
it was release, a big hit over here.
Right. Okay, so decent, better than decently. There's also let me just consult here because I'm not entirely sure exactly how. Yes, and then Rumble in the Bronx kind of gives sort of the okay for Jet Li's Black Mask to come out, the Black Mask film. And I remember seeing that in the theater as a wide release as well. I'm not sure how well that did. I think that did significantly worse than Rumble.
Yeah, I'm not like Jet Li's sort of American run. It all just kind of bleeds together. Like I'm not. Like I there's like Black Mask, and then there was like something with Bridget Fonda, and like all of them. Like I
those are different though, because Black Mask is, I don't believe that it's like an American production in the same way that like how like Jet Li was in like Lethal Weapon 4 or whatever.
Right, and then there's like some DMX films that Jet Li was in.
Yeah. That, oh Christ.
With Tom Arnold.
It's called like. Fuck you! God damn it! It's right there, but it's called like whatever. I'll look it up in a second. I just want to look at a Black Mask and just see who the director was. Superhero. Yeah, I mean, it's a Choi Hawk film. I think it originally was like a. Yeah, I mean, this is a Hong Kong film that was just released. See, it's different because this is just a Hong Kong film that was just released in the U.S. as a sort of an experiment. But so it's not the same as the DMX one. I'll just ask the thing real quickly. What is the film that Jet Li made with DMX? Romeo Must Die, of course, right? So it's a lot different than something like Romeo Must Die, which is like an American film where they're just this little Chinese guy, he can sure kick really quickly. Let's put him in a movie and see how he does, you know. But the era of the DVD release of motherfucking Twin Warriors, aka Tai Chi Master, and also Iron Monkey, were both Miramax. I think that Twin Warriors was like Dimension. Like Dimension is like sort of the genre subsidiary of Miramax.
Because I think I remember seeing Iron Monkey at sort of like a revival theater that was like showing Hong Kong films in the 90s. And then I remember going back and seeing when they made a wider release of Iron Monkey. So I remember noticing like there were slight differences between the two, but still a great movie.
Sure. Okay, let's stick to Tai Chi Master. So Tai Chi Master, again, Jet Li is the hero. Then you got Chin Siu Ho as the fucking.
Well, it starts off with like two kids that are sort of two boys thrown into a a Shaolin monastery, and they grow up in the monastery learning Shaolin Kung Fu, and they're very close.
What time period is this taking place in?
I'm going to say sometime during the 1800s.
Yeah, or even earlier. Like it's like
it's definitely pre like Once Upon a Time in China. There's no cars. There's no technology.
Or Fist of Legend. It's fucking
definitely before Fist of Legend.
It's pre-industrialization. It's Ming Dynasty basically. Just like it's top ponytails, and there's still sort of a element of like magic surrounding Kung Fu, you know?
And so
if you're really good at Kung Fu, you're basically like a wizard. But sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so eventually they get kicked out of the monastery because not Jet Li, the other guy, he's doing some sort of Kung Fu display fight against this other guy who's cheating and tries to kill him, and because he's cheating, and so that's unacceptable. So they're kicked out of the monastery, and they're basically sort of forced to fend for themselves in the real world.
Well, let's not skip past that scene, which is actually probably my favorite scene in the film, is when they fight in that monastery, like inside, and they have to fight all those dudes who are like encircling them and jumping up on their shoulders and like flinging sticks at them, and it's just such a spectacle. There's all these sticks flying around all over the place, and then they fucking hit the lamp oil in the ceiling. The lamp oil makes the ground all slippery.
Oh right, yeah, that's great.
And they're surfing on dudes and all this crap, and there's levels to the fight. First, it's just they're flicking their sticks at them, and they're getting projectile sticks, staffs getting thrown at them. Then, when the two guys manage to grab a stick of their own, they're able to kind of like deflect them all. So they're deflecting the sticks, and the guys who are attacking them are like, oh, okay, we got to get in there and just fight them, like, you know, hand to hand. So they jump off their shoulders and then they just start coming at them all. And then it's the sort of the next wave of this fight scene where it's just like Jet Li and fucking Chin Soo Ho defending themselves. And then as an even sort of further variation of the fight, some guy goes to hit Jet Li over the head. Jet Li puts up his stick to defend himself, but the stick breaks over his head, breaking his stick in half, giving him 2 short sticks. And then he starts to fight with 2 short sticks. And then the lamp oil falls from the ceiling, and then they're surfing on dudes, sliding across on the shit. This scene goes so fucking hard. This is such a great fight scene. And I always think of this one when I try to think of like my favorite kind of like kung fu spectacles. This one's just really spectacular. And then they get kicked out of the monastery. An important note to me. Oh, another thing too is that the great YEEAOH is also in this film. He plays like the headmaster. If you recall, did you ever see from '82 Jet Li's first movie called The Shaolin Temple?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's like it's a pretty straightforward film of a same thing where there's just like a guy who joins a Shaolin temple, and then he just learns kung fu, and then this gives him the ability to take revenge on the warlord that killed his family or whatever. Like it's super straightforward, but it was a lot of people. Probably people do realize that Jet Li is like a mainland Chinese guy, and he was kind of the pride of the mainland. When he started becoming a star, he was different than a lot of the guys, like the Hong Kong guys, because he was like a full-on like mainland Chinese guy, and you could tell this when you watched the movies because of his accent and everything. So like he was kind of really popular in a way that a lot of the other guys weren't. But the cool thing about and he was 19 years old when he was in Shaolin Temple. So the interesting thing about Shaolin Temple, or rather if there's a reason to watch Shaolin Temple, the reason is that the kung fu in this film is very much on display. Like, and it's a lot of it is the fights, but a lot of it is just sort of like a one man kind of display, like just a guy, you know, that shit where they have like a weighted blade on a string, and they do like sort of demonstration. Do you know the weapon I'm talking about? It's just like a rope with a fucking weighted blade on it, and you swing it around and kind of like throw it around and shit. Just like a lot of shit, like a lot of time is given to sort of just show kind of how cool these guys are just doing their like weapons drills. So like a weapons drill with swords, weapons drill with that fucking blade on a string shit, even just like hand to hand stuff, and just showing how like incredible acrobats these guys are. So like there's a lot of that in Shaolin Temple. I remember seeing that as like a young teenager, as like maybe 14 or whatever, and just be like, damn, these guys are fucking sick. Like these guys are have such total control and discipline like over their bodies and shit. And it's way different than the kind of martial arts that you see in Western movies. It was the first time that I was ever like, this is way better than American martial arts films, you know? But then you sort of get down to the nitty gritty and you find out that like, Chuck Norris probably was like the best fighter. If you actually had to put him up against like some of these guys, probably Chuck Norris would win just because he's the most like well-rounded, like.
But all these like Chinese guys have had like major like not just like kung fu fighting training, but like acrobatic training. So they're like flipping around and jumping around. Well, that's in ways that Chuck Norris is not going to. Right,
but what the point I'm trying to make though is that these Chinese guys are way more interesting to watch, but just as you said, a lot of their training is like has to do with the long the centuries standing tradition of kung fu in China, which is connected a lot with dance and with sort of tradition and this kind of stuff. So there is a lot of like ornamentation in that martial art, in the classic kind of shit that you would learn at one of those monasteries, because they're trying to teach you also about like, you know, whatever, like.
And I feel like with American stuff, there's this, you know, you mentioned Chuck Norris, like there's very much like, we have to make sure this looks real, like it has to feel real, it has to look real. In China, I don't think that they're so beholden to that standard as much. Like, they're not afraid to push it and make the moves, the move, like sort of the crazy kung fu moves, like so outrageous that that they really, you know, are almost like impossible, like superhero level.
Right. Yeah. Because there is, what they often do is they try to like mythologize kung fu. Like, it's, you know, if you train to a certain level, then you achieve sort of this, you know, this point where your chi energy is sharpened and you know, cultivated to a point where you can actually do superhuman things. The reason why I bring up Chuck Norris is because, like, Chuck Norris movies are absolutely not as interesting to watch. But if you were to put Chuck Norris at his prime against some of these like kung fu guys that you see in these films, just in terms of like who's going to win in a fight, it's probably going to be someone like Chuck Norris. Just because, but it's not going to be like a spectacular fucking fight. It's not going to be like one of these fight scenes. He's just like a...
Yeah, they're not going to... Chuck Norris is not going to be flying around on ladders and spinning on, you know, giant, you know, bamboo trees and, you know, flying around on trampolines. Like, that's not what he does.
Right. But you understand what I'm saying? Like in a tournament, like not...
Yeah,
not
if it was an actual like, you know, street fight with Chuck Norris, you would probably kick the shit out of Jet Li.
Yeah, that just is, I mean, these guys are not pushovers, but this is more of just like an emphasis on how Chuck Norris was you know, to some of these clips that I've seen of him, like in his prime, like he's the real deal, you know, he really was like a world-class fighter. But anyways, on to fucking whatchamacallit, Tai Chi Master. Here's one thing I want to get in before we start talking about the plot. Well, we did start talking about the plot. Like, so where are we at? They got kicked out of the temple. One thing I want to get in before I forget is that the original music, the original composer for Tai Chi Master was done by a guy called Wu Y Lap. He's credited as William Wu. I guess they used his anglicized name. He did the original like soundtrack for Tai Chi Master, which is like fine, but like, you know, it's fine and it's perfectly memorable. It's perfectly suitable for the film, is what I'm trying to say. But then when Dimension in 2000 did the DVD release for what they call Twin Warriors, which is just a renamed version of Tai Chi Master, this guy named Stephen Edwards came in and did his own soundtrack as well as an English dub. And I actually last night watched the original, like the Tai Chi Master with the William Wu soundtrack, and the subtitles, like the original dialogue, the original Chinese dialogue with the with subtitles, and I was like, oh man, like so much of what I like about this movie, well, I'd say like 25% of what I like about this movie is the new soundtrack, the Stephen Edwards soundtrack.
But I don't think I've ever watched that version.
You've only ever seen the subtitled version or the one that has the dubbing?
The subtitled version.
Oh, really? Okay, because I think that in a I'm not, and this may exist, who knows? But like in a perfect world, I think it's the Stephen Edwards soundtrack with the original Chinese dialogue, because the subtitled version actually is more sophisticated. The English dub is simplified and made and a lot goofier, and it makes the film a lot more kind of naive feeling. But the soundtrack, if you know, you know, the Twin Warriors like soundtrack is so much catchier and so much more memorable. And I hate to say it, but Stephen Edwards is kind of LARPing as a Chinese guy when he does this soundtrack, because it's a full-on Chinese style soundtrack, but it's done by a guy named Stephen Edwards. Still, I think he knocks William Wu out of the water in terms of the soundtrack. But you know what? Leave your fucking opinions in the comments. Which soundtrack do you like better, the original one or the Stephen Edwards one? Anyways, as we continue on with the fucking analysis, the analysis of Tai Chi Master, we need to talk about what happens when they get to town. These two rogue monks that have no money, they're in some fucking town, and they gotta do something. What do they gotta do?
Well, they meet two attractive women. They save the first woman. I can't remember her name. Some tough guys are stealing some money from some peasant dude, and she pickpockets the money back and gives it back to them, and then they figure it out, and so they're like about to kill her, and that's when Jet Li and Chin step in and save her. And so they bring her along for the ride, and then they stop into a pub for dinner or a tavern or whatever, and that's when they meet Michelle Yeoh, and she's looking for her husband, who apparently has left her and gone off to marry the sister of the sort of the big bad albino dude that's running the town.
Well, the eunuch.
Albino eunuch.
Making the main bad guy, the royal eunuch Liu Jin, with the heart of a viper, making him a eunuch and making him kind of this like pale, like weird kind of like the fact that he's a eunuch, I think really helps out this character a lot, because he makes him into this sort of like weird monster. Because that's the thing, right? Like he's the governor of the town, of the region or whatever, and he's ruthless and he's evil.
I feel like anytime you have a villain with any kind of like physical deformity, it definitely helps. Like it really sells it.
You mean the physical deformity of him being albino, or the physical deformity
or
of him
anything?
being a
like he's a eunuch, he's an albino, he's in a wheelchair, he's retarded, he's got a hook for a hand, he's got an eye patch. Yeah. Like anything
he's got cerebral
like that.
Palsy.
Yeah, anything you do like that, it's like instant villain. You know this guy's bad because he's disabled.
Yeah, but specifically him being a eunuch, because like, I mean, we can go all the way back to Castle Freak. You know, like when you cut off a guy's fucking dick, you're creating
a monster.
A monster, exactly. You're creating a Castle Freak. And and this guy just, I have no need for women. All I want to do is just, I have no compassion. I have no, women and children mean nothing to me. Like he's ruthless.
He's like no longer human. He's not
right.
He's not even a human being anymore.
Exactly. That's exactly it. You make him into this. You really do make a guy. That's probably why those fucking emperors would make guys into eunuchs. Is just so that they would have these. Literal, easy. All you got to do is just fucking cut off a guy's dick, and you got yourself like a fucking monster that's under your control.
Well, if you're a eunuch, you cut off their nuts, right? Or you cut off their dick.
Well, I think you cut off your. I mean, technically, you cut off. I guess it really is up to the guy who's doing the cutting.
What's the official definition of a eunuch?
We're gonna look that up right now. In the meantime, why don't you go ahead and tell me? So, like Michelle Yeoh and Fenny Yuen are
so there's like another great fight where Michelle Yeoh is confronting her prodigal husband who has married this new woman, and the new wife attacks Michelle Yeoh, and then like this big fight occurs in the tavern, and again Jet Li and Chin have to step in. And there's a great another great fight in the tavern. But we sort of see like they're beginning to sort of like build up this sort of group of friends in the outside world. And there comes a point where Chin, it's kind of, you start getting the feeling like Chin doesn't like being poor. He doesn't like, living this sort of like tramp lifestyle, and he wants to be a big shot. He sees the eunuch, being carried through the streets, and he wants to be a big shot too. He wants to be rich. He wants to be successful. So
let me jump in and tell you the definition of eunuch is just a man who's been castrated. But then the definition of castration is balls being cut off. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah. I just always thought that because, Castle Freak had his dick gone, but his balls intact, which makes sense if you want someone to like be like aggressive. But I guess the Chinese kind of didn't want guys who just were like mindlessly kind of frustratingly aggressive, wanting to fuck but not being able to. They wanted their balls off so that they were only concerned like in matters of like greed and power, like as it related to like politics, like just cutting out sort of personal desire from the equation. Like what's good for me is not something I think about. What's good for kind of my boss is all I think about, maybe, is the idea.
Well, you got to think, like, if you're a boss, you want employees that don't have any nuts, so they're not, they're more tame. They're going to be focused on work. They're not going to be focused on fucking.
Yeah, but you want, like, you still want your governors to be ruthless. You want them to be like vicious and what do you say? Uncompromising to their subjects. Like you want them to be monsters, aggressive, vicious. But like, you're not really doing it to make them submissive. You're doing it more just so that they keep their mind on the fucking road.
Of course, and yeah, if they're not distracted by falling in love with anybody, that's not going to happen.
Sure. So, Chin Su Ho is like, I want to be like that eunuch. I want to have that kind of power. And and Jet Li is like, oh, not me. I'm kind of just down with being chill. Oh, and of course, we forgot to mention too that the abbot of the temple who teaches them a little, or he doesn't really teach them. They just kind of watch him and they kind of pick up a little. This is back when they were kids, and they pick up a little bit of Tai Chi of this sort of secret extra.
Well, like right when they're being expelled, he gives Chin like a scroll or something that has, because he sees that Chin is like the hothead of the two. And he gives him this specific scroll of like some sort of martial art that he claims
Tai Chi.
That this is gonna Tai Chi. This is gonna help you deal with because you're an angry guy. This is gonna help you.
Right.
And of course, Chin he doesn't even crack it open.
Right. Exactly.
Like he never looks at it. He just goes off and he joins the eunuch's army.
Right. And this is something it's worth mentioning too, that because I've seen this movie a lot of times, but last night was the first time that I actually watched like the subtitle version, and there is an indication in the subtitle version where it's like, okay, so here is the Tai Chi scrolls, and these are for you, Tian Bao, which is that character, Chin Su Ho's character, and he's like. This has nothing to do with fighting or martial arts. This is more about just kind of your inner peace, because this is going to be your problem going forward. So he makes the specific point of saying that this has nothing to do with fighting. This is just something that'll give when you get super angry and when you get frustrated and feel like you want to just be destructive, like this is going to help calm you down. And exactly what you said, he never ever even cracks it, and he leaves it to Jet Li, who ends up. Well, let's get to what drives him. What drives Jet Li? It's the betrayal that happens by his brother, and we really should, even though these guys probably are not biological brothers. For all intents and purposes, they are brothers. Like they call each other brothers. So
right. So there's this sequence where, fuck. I'm trying to remember like why the eunuch army is. I guess like Jet Li is like hanging out with these guys in town who are stealing valuables from the eunuch and selling them, giving them back to the poor people of the town. And I guess some of the eunuch's army gets wind of this and confronts them, and there's like a big fight between Jet Li and these army guys, and they basically kill them all except one gets away and is going to go back and tell the eunuch's army. And right before he gets there, Chin, who has joined that army, like pops up and kills that guy, and he still sort of shows like, I'm still with you guys, even though I'm in the eunuch's army. I'm still, your brother. I'm still Jet Li's brother, and I'm still with you guys. So they, Jet Li and the crew, Michelle Yeoh, they all believe him, and they planned a big sort of attack on the eunuch and his army, like a secret surprise attack. They go there to attack him, and it becomes apparent that somebody ratted them out. They were prepared for them, and it's sort of like, well, who's the rat? And the rat, of course, is Jet Li's brother, Chin. Right.
There you go. And after sort of proving his loyalty, he gets to get out of that blue and tan outfit and get this really cool kind of like black leather kind of outfit. Mm-hmm. So he's got this like cool kind of general's outfit now. And of course Jet Li is he's just lost at this point. He's completely
they basically kill everybody in the group except for Michelle Yeoh, who's taken hostage, and is it Yuan Wu Ping's character? Is that who he plays? Like the Chinese medicine man.
He like pretends, he like takes blood from someone else and puts it on himself and pretends to be.
Yeah, is that Yuan Wu Ping, or is who is that guy?
Well, it's not. It's definitely not Yuan Wu Ping, because Yuan Wu Ping is the director. But I think
I thought you said he's in it. He's in the movie too.
No, I don't think that I said that.
No, you did.
I said that he's in the movie?
You said he's in the movie. When you were reading something about the movie, you said he's in it.
Oh, well, if I said that, then I was wrong, but I don't remember saying that. There's a guy called Yen Cheng Yan, who plays Reverend Ling, I think is the character you're talking about. Okay. He's sort of like a kind of another kind of monk, just some other sort of guy who's just got some bullshit that he's talking about. But in any case, yeah. So they lick their wounds. They're able to escape. Michelle Yeoh and Jet Li and that guy escape.
Actually, Michelle Yeoh's taken hostage.
Is she taken hostage, or is it the fucking? Well, okay, let me ask this.
He's taken hostage because remember, there's a scene where he has to like come back and she's crucified on this tower. And there's like a big fight between Jet Li and Chin, and she's like the towers, and like they're like knocking the tower down with their kicks
like Jenga. There's and the logs are coming out like that. The fucking but what about? There's a part I remember. This is a little. This sucks because like I can't quite remember what happened. Like, there's a part where Fenny Yuan, the girl, the first woman that we're introduced to, the one who pickpockets the money off of like the soldier,
right?
Chinbo kills her. He
right, because I think he probably doesn't he grab her from their first, like when the Jet Li and the friends like make their first attack, and I think she's taken captive. Right at that point,
I think so. All I know is
that, but he seems like Chin wants her to be his wife or lover or something that.
Yeah,
but she's like, I fucking hate your guts, and then the eunuch walks in, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, this bitch is like, I want to fuck her, but she's being a fucking bitch about it." And the eunuch's like, "Well, what are you wasting your time with this bitch for? She's like, it's like a waste of time. Just kill her." Yeah. He's like, "Okay," and then he kills her.
Right, because in his mind, like he has every intention of being like, hey, I got it made now, like I have a successful career as a as a tyrannical general with a boss with no balls, and you can be my wife, and and you can live the good life with me, and he means it because I mean, as much as a guy like that can love, like
he definitely, like from the moment he sees her, he definitely seems to be interested in her romantically.
Right.
And I guess once he sort of goes down that path of, I want to be this tyrannical, power, he just becomes power mad. And when she has no interest in him, she rejects him. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah. It is cool how that character's arc has no redemption. There's not any redemption that happens. Like he just gets more evil and more evil and more evil until at the very end.
I think it's just like they like to sort of like just the whole idea of like these two boys coming from a very similar background taking two completely disparate paths. One is like, good, the other evil.
Yeah. And it's not like there's any kind of real big, it's not like there's any particular instance that makes one good or one evil. One just is destined to be good and one's destined to be evil. Like right from the beginning.
Yeah, there's nothing that makes there's no event that Chin is sort of like, yes, I am now going to be evil.
Right.
He just is just like, I don't want to be poor anymore. Like I don't want to sleep with bugs. I want to be big power. Like it's just like the moment he sees the eunuch coming down the street and how opulent his train is and all the people that are listening to him and he has power over, he's just like, I want that, and that's all it takes.
Right. And then let's get to Jet Li learning, opening up those scrolls and I'm fucking lost.
after like he basically clearly he's lost his brother, like his brother's like completely beyond redemption. He goes back. He's wounded. He goes back. He saves Michelle Yeoh, and they go back to town, and they're in hiding or whatever. And he loses his mind for a while. And there's like this whole.
It's played off. Yeah, it's played off as like goofy Hong Kong comedy, where he's just
it's sort of like it takes this again, like the sort of like Chinese doctor guy is like the sort of butt of every joke. Like every time, like Jet Li throws a bowl of soup or like it hits this guy in the head.
Yeah, or like he'll go and like tap his knee with a mallet, and then Jet Li, his reflex won't react. So the guy will be like, "See, he's got no reflexes," and then Jet Li kicks him in the balls. Like it'll just be little gags like that here and there. But
until like for whatever reason, like suddenly at some point Jet Li gets his senses back, and that's when isn't that like when he sort of cracks open that Tai Chi scroll?
Yeah. And then there's a montage of him like, and then he also has the, and this I'm going to go off of the dubbed version. Like there's this whole thing of like his what do you say? The epiphany happens when he's carrying like a bunch of like branches or some shit, and then he sees like a farmer carrying a bunch of branches, and then the farmer starts running, And he's like, because your wife is giving birth. And he's like, well, put down that fucking that thing of fucking branches, like set down your burden so you can go and see your wife have the baby. And then Jet Li's like, set down your burden, just put down your burden. So the idea is just like, stop caring about your brother being a shitty dude. And then that kind of leads, that's the first step. And then the next step is him kind of opening up that fucking scroll and studying Tai Chi, which is the ultimate purpose of that is to kind of, typical kind of like Asian sort of stuff where it's like you want to crush the ego and kind of really get into tune with sort of the flows of nature and wind and water and all that kind of crap.
Well, it's also like it's like when he does have the showdown with his former brother, it is like his approach is like the brother's approach is like super aggressive, super violent, and Jet Li now with the Tai Chi power is like super laid back, more relaxed, completely opposite approach.
Yeah, like that old I will bend like a reed in the wind kind of type of shit. Like he the more that you attack Jet Li with, the more that he'll just turn all of that energy against you. But there's a really cool part where he's doing moving the water in the pot, and he creates like this like whirlpool that like destroys like the pot, like all this kind of cool. And then he's also doing like he's doing Tai Chi in the courtyard, and all the leaves are flying all around him. And then when he settles down, all the leaves like settle in a perfect circle, like a perfect circular perimeter around him. And like it really, again, this is why I like this movie more than I like the Qing Dynasty stuff. That's like a Fist of Legend and those kinds of, like, I mean, the fights are fantastic and all this stuff, but I really do like this sort of kung fu as magic thing. It's it's what I like the most about these kinds of films.
I watched both Tai Chi Master and Fist of Legend like back to back, and both are great, but I would give the edge to Fist of Legend only because I feel like the emotion behind the fight is like I feel like it's stronger. Like I felt more emotionally, especially in the final fight in Fist of Legend, like I felt more emotionally invested in what he was doing and what he had to get done. It's a great movie.
Tai Chi Master is like it has more of a fable feel to it. Like it has more of like a
Cain and Abel story.
Sure. It's a classic kind of fable. I would think that like younger kids would even like this because it's so simple and it's so like archetypical, I guess. Like just sort of like these two brothers and just like you said, like a Cain and Abel kind of thing. But in any case, so then finally, like, naturally there's this huge fight that, Michelle Yeoh and Jet Li go to confront Chinbo, sort of on his own terms. And they...
Also, Michelle Yeoh is great in this film. Like, just like, a great run of films during that period.
Yeah, because this is her first coming out of retirement, because she was in a lot of like, she had sort of a bunch of films that were like not predominantly martial arts films before she married her first husband. And then there was like 2 years where she was married, and then I'm not sure if she got divorced or if she just kind of like while married changed her mind. But then she became the sort of the action hero Michelle Yeoh, and that's where you're getting like your fucking like Yes Madam and Tai Chi Master and like and all the like and all the sort of the martial arts and sort of like cop films and stuff that she did.
That one, is it Yes Madam? The one that's like it starts off on the plane, and she has that fucking fight on the plane.
No, well, Yes Madam it doesn't start off on a plane. It starts off like with a sort of a bank robbery sort of thing, or it takes place like on the streets. It's not on a plane.
Right, but then that's true. But then later on, there's like there's a whole sequence at the beginning where like there's these cops and they're bringing that Michael Chan Man, whatever, in handcuffs on the plane, and there's like a dude, like there's like a whole plan to like let this guy go, get him free and take over the plane, and Michelle Yeoh's on the plane, and then there's this Japanese fighters on the plane too, and then there's like this huge battle on the plane. But it's part of that In the Line of Duty series, but it's like the first one of that series. And I think it's called Yes, Madam.
Well, I mean, it is the first movie in the Line of Duty series.
Great fucking movie.
Yep, absolutely.
And she's awesome in it.
Yeah, and Cynthia Rothrock's in that movie as well.
Yeah, she's fucking fan, and like the whole showdown at the bad dude's mansion at the end is amazing.
Right. Actually, that's due for a rewatch. Let's do that one maybe sometime soon, because
sure.
And maybe another Cynthia Rothrock movie.
Okay.
Because Michelle Yeoh is a Malaysian actress, and she didn't even know Mandarin Chinese until she had to learn it for fucking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like 2000. She didn't know how to speak Mandarin Chinese. In fact, she had to learn her lines phonetically for that film. And then and then she kind of had this sort of recent kind of renaissance where she's playing like, you know, the lesbian captain on the fucking Starship Enterprise or whatever. And then
speaking like sort of like Disney witches and stuff or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then just last week she gets invited by Tiffany's, like the fucking diamond store or whatever in Taipei, Tiffany's Taiwan, whatever, to come and to appear at some sort of event at the store. And on her Instagram she writes, thanks a lot to Taipei, China for inviting me to fucking Tiffany's. And it's just, and everyone's like, what the fuck is your problem? Like this, like the Taiwanese fucking Tiffany's Taiwan invites you to come there, and you're going to pull some, you know, Taiwan is China bullshit, you know? Like, I mean, what the hell's the matter with you? Like, it's so, like, here's what you do. You don't say anything. You just say thank you. You don't fucking go in with your fucking Taiwan is China bullshit. Like, it's so, like, that really made me kind of think, like, what the hell's wrong with this bitch? You know, like, like, it's like, like, does China even want you for anything right now? You know, like, I think that you're getting, your bread and butter right now is American films, but I guess you could say that, sure, like, you know, America is in the pocket of China. So whatever, you know, I mean, you know,
just getting ready for the inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. That really disappointed me, because it's just like, just say nothing. What's the matter with you? You know, like it's not only that, but it's also forget politics. Just being a shitty guest. You know, like they invite you, they come, you get to come and do this fucking thing. You know,
probably
whatever.
Get like a big shitload of free jewelry.
Yeah, and then they're just and she's like, oh, by the way, Taipei is Chinese, is China's. And it's just like, thanks, Michelle. But
I want to thank Mao Zedong for this jewelry.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, so then you know, there's that big fight. We already mentioned that thing where Michelle Yeoh is crucified, and the fight, and then the big sort of showdown between Jet Li and the fucking the new leader, the new sort of governor, I guess. Like he's taken the fucking title from the eunuch, and
because Michelle Yeoh's holding the eunuch hostage, and sort of there's this moment of like the eunuch's like everybody put down your weapons, like I don't want this lady to kill me, and then so Chin kills the eunuch.
Yeah.
Like he really, like he does not like you said, there's no redemption. There's no point where he backs down. Like, he really is leaning in to be as evil as possible.
The level of evil is pretty cool. Like, especially when, like, because there is a point where, like, that eunuch, you actually almost feel sorry for him when he's stripped of all his power. He actually is a cool,
right.
Like, when he's fighting, like his sort of flying around kind of eunuch fighting is pretty sick too. Like that part where he's actually a threat is pretty cool, but it doesn't last for terribly long. In the end, there's that scene. Oh, there's that scene where Chinbo grabs like a whole bunch of spears and like he has them under each arm, and Jet Li is like under a carpet or something, and he like stabs him, and then he's like, ha, 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 I've killed him. But then Jet Li like rips the carpet open, and he just has the spears in his. He's has them all just gripped in his hands, like all the heads of the spears are gripped in his hands, and then he ends up like kicking Chinbo up into the air a bunch of times, and then finally, like after kicking him up in the air maybe the third time, he also jumps up in the air and then kicks him down, and he gets impaled on a bunch of spears, and then that's that's basically the end of the movie, and then of course Jet Li starts his own Tai Chi school, and that's how the thing ends. And then we and the knowledge and the legacy of Tai Chi will carry on through the ages, and that's why you know about it, viewer. That's kind of the ending.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do like this movie more than Fist of Legend. I guess we tend to compare them just because there's a lot of crossover in terms of the actors. Like,
is Fist of Legend Yuen Wu Ping as well, or is that a different director?
I think it's the same, but I'm going to just make sure. Fist of Legend. I think it is the same.
Okay.
It is. No, it's not. It's actually directed by Gordon Chan, a fellow named Gordon Chan. But Chin Sui Ho is in it also, and
he's the
general, the army guy.
Yeah, he's in Fist of Legend. He's like the son of the kung fu school master, and there's also like again another rivalry, not as heavily played out as in Tai Chi Master, but there is a rivalry between the two of them for who's going to like take over the school after the master dies.
This was another one. Actually, let me just do a really quick look at, because this is in 1994, so this actually came out a year after
Tai Chi Master.
Tai Chi Master, that's right. But I'm just gonna I want to see the home media release. This is all in the same dump that Miramax did. Miramax in 2000 just got a whole bunch of these movies and either did I guess mostly it was just a home video thing. It was a DVD kind of blitz where they just bought all these movies for pennies on the dollar, did an English dub, and maybe also in Fist of Legend, but also in the case of primarily in the case of Tai Chi Master, they redid the soundtrack as well. Iron Monkey, Fist of Legend, and Tai Chi Master were three, and there probably were more, but it was this Miramax kind of strategy to sort of like almost.
I also felt like that was because of like Kill Bill too, right?
I think it was. It's probably a bunch of factors, but I really think it had to do a lot with like the Matrix. But let's take a look at when, because
I think Tarantino and his sort of like interest in this stuff also sparked this wave.
But so that doesn't make any sense because Kill Bill Part 1 came out in 2003, and this was all in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, who knows? Maybe it was kind of like it was a. How do you say that? Like kind of like setting the stage for Kill Bill, getting kind of the audience kind of into this sort of kung fu stuff. I'm not entirely sure what the strategy was. But yeah, so my rating for Tai Chi Master is going to be pretty high. I think that, I mean, you know, I think anybody's going to enjoy this film who, you know, and this is a film that even like my girlfriend loves, you know, but I think it's a film that she, like a kung fu kind of fighting film that she loves is kind of rare. But so I'll give this one maybe like a 4. I'm gonna give Tai Chi Master a solid 4. And if I could have that version, that theoretical version where it's the Stephen Edwards soundtrack, but then like the original language version with subtitles, if I could have that version, I'd give that a 4.5. But that doesn't exist not to my knowledge. But it's a 4 officially.
I would give Tai Chi Master a 4.5, but I would give Fist of Legend a 5.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I would give Fist of Legend. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm gonna say that we're not talking about Fist of Legend today, so it's a moot point.
Well, I just want to tell people listening out there, Fist of Legend, 5 eggplants.
That's a perfect movie.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I think we did it today. I think this is 2 episodes, so we don't have to do one. We either don't have to do one next week. We don't have to do
one all month.
We don't have to do one either next week, or we're just one ahead, which is safer. So
okay, I agree.
Whatever you like. Anyways, okay, that's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.